Hello, what's up, everybody? I wanted to go ahead and start out by saying thank you to everybody that did come out last night and watched some of the Super Bowl. Watched a bunch of the Super Bowl. However much Super Bowl you watched with us, dropped a follow. It was a lot of fun. Glad so many people could come check out the stream. Watched, like I said, dropped a like. Got a couple donators, those kind of things. But it was a lot of fun watching the Super Bowl, even though it was a snooze fest last night. That is 100% truth. That game really wanted to put us to sleep. Lowest scoring Super Bowl in history. 16 points is all they could muster between the two of them. Truly baffling. The Rams could do absolutely nothing on the offensive side of the ball for the entirety of the game. They had 50 yards of offense in the first half. The Patriots defense, they were all over Goff all night. Every time you look up, Hightower's in the backfield on him. Claiborne's in the backfield on him. Somebody was on him. They threw the ball 38 times. Actually, we'll just go ahead and go through. We'll go through the stats. Some quick stats from the game. Let me go ahead and pull that up for you here. But obviously, the final score was the New England Patriots 13, the Los Angeles Rams 3. But we'll go through the stats. The quarterbacks, Tom Brady, he finished 21 of 35 for 262. No touchdowns, one interception, and he was sacked one time for 9 yards. And his QBR ended up only being 25.8. Good morning, David. The Rams, Jared Goff, he finished 19 of 38. He completed 50% of his passes for 229 and one interception. The one interception that really ended the game for the Rams. They had a chance to go down a tie, and he threw up an ugly pass, and it ended up being intercepted. He was sacked 4 times for 31 yards, and his final QBR for the game was 13.4. So not great quarterback play from either team. It was just an ugly game, sloppy game. Sony Michel, he almost cracked 100. He finished with 18 carries for 94 yards. And he had the lone touchdown of the night in that fourth quarter. His long run of the night was 26 yards. Burkhead also had a run for 26 yards. But as a team, the Patriots, they carried the ball 32 times for 154 yards with an average of 4.8 yards per carry. And like I said, the lone touchdown of the night scored by Sony Michel in the fourth quarter. Todd Gurley, he finished with 10 carries, 35 yards. C.J. Anderson only carried the ball 7 times for 22 yards. And as a team, they carried the ball 18 times for 62 yards, averaged 3.4 per carry. And the long run of the night was Gurley with a 16-yarder. Then receiving stats down here, you get down to Julian Edelman, who was your Super Bowl MVP. It looked like he was going to break the record for most catches in a Super Bowl game, but he came one catch short of tying that record. He finished with 10 catches for 141 yards, was targeted 12 times with a long of 27. Gronk had 6 catches for 87 and a long of 29. He had the long reception of the night out of anybody. I believe that's the longest play of the night by anybody, 29 yards by Gronk. And I believe that was the play that set them up inside the 1 or at the 1-yard line in that fourth quarter. Brandon Cooks led the Los Angeles Rams with 8 catches for 120 yards and a long of 24. And Robert Woods, the team's leading receiver on the season, had 5 catches for 70 yards. Tom Brady did fumble once to go along with his 1 interception, but it was recovered by New England, so it ended up not being so bad. C.J. Anderson also fumbled, and that one went out of bounds. So they got away with fumbling the ball as well. We got Jonathan Jones from the Patriots, had a sack. He had 8 total tackles, 6 solo, and 1 hit on the quarterback. Stephon Gilmore, he did have the 1 interception for the New England defense. And he had 5 tackles, 5 solo, 3 pass defenses. Who else do we got here? Dante Hightower, like I said, he was wreaking havoc getting to the quarterback. He had 2 total tackles, 2 solo tackles, 2 sacks. on the night, 1 pass defense, and he had 3 hits on the quarterback. So did Kyle Van Noy. Kyle Van Noy was at 4 total, 4 solo tackles, 1 sack, and 3 QB hits. So they were putting pressure. They hit Goff a total of 12 times. Had 4 sacks in the ball game and 7 tackles for loss. Brady was sacked 1 lone time by John Franklin Myers. They didn't really get to Brady as much. They only had 4 quarterback hits. They were causing issues. Their defensive line was, but they just couldn't get him down or get any shots on him. And as you can see here, Stephon Gilmore had the 1 interception for the Patriots down here at the bottom of the screen. Corey Littleton, he also had 1 interception on the tip pass on Brady's first pass of the ballgame for the Rams. Cordell Patterson had the 1 kick return in the game for 38 yards, and that was the one that opened the game, I believe it was. No big punt returns from either team. Steven Gostkowski, he was 2 for 3. He missed his first attempt of the night, but it ended up not meaning so much, obviously. But that's just the name they went for it. Honestly, they only use their feet in the kicking, but I don't. That's a good question for why they actually call it football. But it gets categorized as American football, and then they spell them 2 different ways as well. But I guess depending on where you're at. But like I said, Gostkowski, he missed his first kick, and he made his last 2. And Zerline made a 53-yarder to tie the game at one point at 3. Yeah, that's just the way. That's just the way that they did it here in America. To be honest, here I'll look that up in a second. We'll look that up and see what the definitions are for that, or why they did that. Zerline, he did kick another field goal with 8 seconds left, but he missed it. It was pretty much over at that point. And Hecker, he had the longest punt, one of the highlights of the night, longest punt in NFL history, 65 yards by Johnny Hecker of the Los Angeles Rams. But I will talk more about the game here in just a second. But let's go ahead and look that up. Give us something to look at here. Okay, so football is called football because you use your feet to play the game. You play on your feet. So that's technically where the term football comes from, because you play with your legs. And obviously it got its findings and roots from rugby, but they obviously changed the rules up. But it's American football, and it's called football because they play the game on their feet. It should, but they call it soccer. I'm about to look that up as well, where that term comes from for American. Today is often said, blah, 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 blah. So what I see here, da, 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 da. So American Association. So soccer is pretty much just an Americanization. Yeah, I understand what you mean with that, but the term soccer is pretty much an Americanization of the game. That's just kind of they gravitated towards calling it soccer, um, and that's just pretty much where that term comes from what I gathered with what I just read. So it was just an Americanization, uh, from what I gather, for the most part, because I believe it is really the only place that calls it soccer. But I mean, growing up, that's what we always called it here in the states. But good questions. We're learning some things this morning. Um, but I'm just going to talk about the Super Bowl now, just in general terms, and then I will probably we'll look up some other news going on in the sports world. Um, but Super Bowl, I'll start out by saying it was boring. If somebody tells you it wasn't boring, they must not have been watching the same game, or they were a fan of the Patriots. Because the Patriots moved the ball. They had some times where they shot themselves in the foot. No, I've already gone through university or through college, so I've already finished myself. But the game as a whole was very boring. It was hard to watch. I obviously did the live stream last night. No, I didn't play any sports. I attended a lot of sports, but I didn't play any. uh, but I had the live stream up. I was hoping to get some live reaction highlights, but there's just nothing that really happened in the game. It was long and drug out, and it was pretty pretty boring in general. I am a lot of people these days suffer from Bama fatigue, is what it's called a lot of times here. But I attended and still support the University of Alabama when it comes to college sports. As far as the NFL, I am a Tennessee Titans fan. They're not even 2 hours from me. So, but I attended and I went to the university. I graduated from the University of Alabama 2 years ago. So that's where I went to school for college anyway. But the game uh, was boring. The Patriots pretty much dominated. The game was close. Obviously, they couldn't punch it in. They couldn't do anything as far as scoring wise. I was telecommunication and film, so it's sports broadcasting kind of stuff. That's why I like this stuff. But I went for sports, basically sports broadcasting, but it was telecommunication and film is what I went for. But Tom Brady got his sixth ring last night. 6 in 9 games. He's played in 9 games as a player. He's won 6 as a player. Only one other franchise has won 6 as a franchise, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Tom Brady's won 6 on his own, with Bill Belichick, of course. They're 6-3 in Super Bowl games. They're very you can't deny. You can love them, hate them, but you can't deny greatness. It's hard to say. It's at some point you just gotta, no matter how bad you hate them, you have to just realize how good they actually are. Which again they proved. You could say greatest of all time, specifically coach and quarterback combo. Jared Goff last night, he looked, I want to say on 75% or 80% of the plays, he looked shook. He looked like he was lost. He looked like he was just didn't know what was going on some of the time. But that was from the Patriots' pressure on him. They were all in his face all night. Hightower was all over him. Almost sacked him in the end zone twice for safety. But like I said earlier, a very boring game. Was the lowest scoring game in NFL or Super Bowl history. The commercials were very lackluster last night. Overall, there were some decent ones. Bud Light was trying to push the whole corn syrup factor about their competitors like Coors Light and stuff like that. It was kind of dumb, to be honest. To be quite honest, My favorite one was probably the Super Bowl Legends commercial where they were all running around the ballroom and throwing the football around. Which that one it included Ninja, which a lot of people on Twitch know, and if you play Fortnite at all, you know who Ninja is. He was in that commercial, and I believe Tim. I didn't see him, but Tim the Tap Man was supposed to be in that commercial as well. He's another very popular streamer right here on Twitch. They both play a lot of Fortnite. But the game, I said this on Friday. I wish the Falcons would have had a better season and they could have played a game in their home stadium for the Super Bowl. Wouldn't that have been an interesting thing to be able to see a team play in their own stadium? Which I don't know if that's ever happened. If somebody knows, please tell me. That would be a very interesting thing to see. Is to see a team play in their own stadium for a Super Bowl championship. That'd be a very interesting thing to see. Oh, my Twitch alerts aren't working, but Calent TW, I appreciate the follow. I just got the email. Thanks for dropping the follow. Thanks for stopping by. But for some reason, my Twitch alerts aren't working. It should have popped up on the screen. Let me check that out real quick. Excuse me.
All right.
See, I tested. They should be working. I don't understand why it's not working. But anyway, thanks for the follow. I did get the email. I'll have to figure out my Twitch alerts to get all that stuff squared away. Because it didn't work last night with donations either. It worked for all the follows that came through, but it didn't work for donations that came through. But no, the Patriots, they won Super Bowl number 6. They and the Pittsburgh Steelers stand alone at the top of Super Bowl Mountain with 6 championships apiece. Julian Edelman was your MVP, 10 catches, 141 yards. I'm looking at some articles here. Todd Gurley said he felt good last night. Just kind of shrugged off the fact that he was used not very much. He had 10 rushes in the game. But you saw in the second half, he had some rushes. He had some good runs. I don't understand why they didn't stick to that. They were too worried about the Rams were too worried about trying to throw the football. I don't understand. Todd Gurley had some nice runs to start that second half and in spots in the second half that they should have rode him. I don't understand. The game, it was still a ball game at that point. It was 3-3 in the third quarter. It was 3-3 going into the fourth quarter. The Patriots didn't even score that touchdown until the fourth quarter with 7 minutes left. And then, of course, they scored that one final field goal to put the game pretty much out of reach with just over a minute left. But very head-scratching. Todd Gurley should have been used. Todd Gurley should have carried the ball 20 times. And Goff probably should have thrown the ball like 10 less times. Head-scratching. He's your superstar. I don't understand why you wouldn't use him. But the Patriots played great defense throughout the game. You can't deny that. The Rams, for the most part, they stood up when they needed to. But the Patriots, they are your Super Bowl 53, Super Bowl 2019, your 2018-2019 Super Bowl champions, NFL champions in the season. Congratulations to all the Patriots fans out there on your 6th Super Bowl championship in 18 years. 6 out of 18. Literally 1/3 of the last 18 Super Bowls they've won. And it was 17 years to the day that the first time they beat the Rams. And they won championship number 1. But they now have 6 titles as an organization. So, congratulations to all you New England fans. I didn't have a dog in the fight last night, but I did support my team, even though they obviously weren't playing in the Tennessee Titans. But that's all for. That's all I'll say about last night's game, I guess, unless some topics pop up or somebody has a question about it. But other than that, I'll move on from there. We're still talking. We're still talking some football stuff here. Um, we've got reports here. The Raiders are trying to play in San Francisco in 2019. Obviously, the city of Oakland wants them out. They're leaving for Vegas, and Oakland is working to try to get them not able to play in that city next season. They have been for a while. Oakland, they should go ahead and dump some money into a new stadium for the A's to really give the Raiders the bird. But they're talking about playing their home games at Oracle Park next season, which is the home of the San Francisco Giants. They're in talks with the San Francisco Giants of using that stadium to have their home games next season. Obviously, no deal has been reached at this time, but they're just in discussions before they move on to Vegas in 2020, which is weird. There's going to be an NFL team in Vegas. There'll be a basketball team in Vegas soon enough. They have hockey, but there'll be an NBA team there soon enough, and it wouldn't surprise me if they try to get baseball there. But they really seem like they want football. They've got hockey. It really wouldn't surprise me if they have basketball within the next several years as well. The Chiefs for next season, they open as Super Bowl favorites according to Vegas. Their odds are 6-1 currently. Yeah, since the beginning of January, the odds have flipped. It went from the Rams next season being the favorite to now the Kansas City Chiefs are now 6-1 favorites to win. And then New England, the Rams, and the New Orleans Saints all have second best odds at 8-1. This is all by Westgate. And no other teams have odds in single digits. The next best odds after those three at 8-1 comes the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Chargers, and Bears at 14-1. That's what Superbook. The Cleveland Browns are part of 6 teams with a 20-1 shot. A lot of hype for the Browns coming into next season. Freddie Kitchens, real down-to-earth guy, real straightforward guy, just a lovable guy. If you ever watch him talk, he's a guy that you want to be around. Baker Mayfield really loves him, and I think they got a great guy. Sure, him not being a head coach in the past is kind of could be a problem, but you got to start at somewhere, and Freddie Kitchens now has that chance. What else do we got here? More stuff about Wentz not being a good teammate. Let's transition out of Super Bowl talk. We'll talk about some NBA stuff here. Just a couple headlines going on there. 2 days ago, the Portland Trail Blazers, they traded for Rodney Hood from the Cleveland Cavaliers. You know, he was playing real well with the Jazz before he got traded to the Cavs, and then the Cavs basically effectively benched him after that. But the Trail Blazers acquired Rodney Hood from the Cleveland Cavaliers for 2 second-round picks, one in 2021 and one in 2023. Obviously, the Cleveland has become a dumpster fire since LeBron's departure. We'll send the Cavs. Expiring contracts of guards Nick Stauskas and Wade Baldwin IV as well. So, Rodney Hood on his way to Portland. Already in Portland, I believe. Obviously, the Porzingis trade went down the other day. Porzingis keeps sending out cryptic messages to telling Knicks fans to stay woke and talking about the truth will come out and those kind of things. And the Knicks, they got Dennis Smith Jr. and who was it? DeAndre Jordan out of that. Dallas sent Dennis Smith Jr., Wesley Matthews, DeAndre Jordan, and 2 future first-round picks to New York for Porzingis. Porzingis, Tim Hardaway, Courtney Lee, and Trey Burke. So basically all their top players, specifically Porzingis, who hasn't played this season, obviously, and Tim Hardaway, he's the leading scorer for the Knicks. Obviously, he's in Dallas now. But create a lot of cap space for the Knicks. They'll have $70 million to spend next summer in free agency. But I guess we'll go ahead and go through some of the standings, where they're at after this weekend. I know I did this on Friday, but I know many of you weren't here on Friday because I just did a quick stream. But the standings, they're not a whole lot different. The 76ers and Celtics keep trading spots. But the Milwaukee Bucks, they're still a game and a half up on Toronto for the 1 seed in the East. The Toronto Raptors are the 2 seed currently. The Celtics are tied with the 76ers, but they are currently in the 3, and the Philadelphia is the 4. The Pacers have slid to 5. I would say I would expect that slide to continue because they lost their number 1 player, so their slide may continue for the rest of the season. The Brooklyn Nets, over 500, they sit at the 6. The Hornets are now at 500. They're in the 7th spot. The Heat are in the 8th spot, 3 games under 500, and a point differential of -0.6. So their opponents are scoring more points than they are. Let's see here. But now on the outside looking in, Detroit, they still have a chance to get into the playoffs. They sit at 22 and 29, but they're currently in the 9th spot. The Washington Wizards sit at 22 and 30. They're in the 10th. The Orlando Magic, they're in the 11th spot at 22 and 31. And then start to have significant drops with the Atlanta Hawks sitting at 17 and 35. The Bulls sitting at 12 and 41. The Cavaliers sitting at 11 and 42. And the Knicks, with the worst record in the NBA currently, sitting at 10 and 42. Next, you have the Nuggets. Nuggets and Warriors keep trading the number 1 spot back and forth. They both sit at 37 and 15, but right now the Nuggets are the 1. The Warriors would be the 2. Oklahoma City, they are the 3 at 33 and 19. The Portland Trail Blazers are the 4, sitting at 32 and 20. The San Antonio Spurs are the 5 at 32 and 22. Houston is the 6 at 30 and 22. The Utah Jazz are the 7. 30 and 24, and the LA Clippers are the 8 at 29 and 25. The Sacramento Kings are over 500. Like I said, they're a pretty surprising team. They have a negative point differential at -1.5, but the Kings are above 500, and they are ahead of the LA Lakers right now at 27 and 25. The Lakers have 1 more loss, so that puts them a half game behind the Kings in the 10th spot. The LA Lakers are 27 and 26, but obviously they're working to get an Anthony Davis trade to try to help right that ship, which they offered. They made some big offers. I would consider them big offers, and the Pelicans told them they're not even interested in it. So they're basically going to have to sell the house except for LeBron to get Anthony Davis, basically, which you get rid of everybody. I think you're not in any better situation, but we'll just see as the trade deadline approaches later this week. You got the Timberwolves, 2 games under 500 behind the Lakers at 25 and 27. The Mavs, with their big trade, they said they do not expect Porzingis to play this season. They're going to give him time to rest, so they're obviously looking towards the future. But Luka Doncic and however you say his name, I've always said it, Doncic and Porzingis are the future of Dallas for when Dirk retires after this season. So future's bright with those two, but they're currently 4 games under 500. And they're just ahead of the New Orleans Pelicans. The New Orleans. That's what I'm calling from now on, the New Orleans. But the New Orleans Pelicans sit at 23 and 30. And the Memphis Grizzlies sit at 21 and 33. And then there's a huge drop down to Phoenix, the worst team in the West, at 11 and 43. Let's see here. We'll talk about shoot here. Let me just make something real quick. Open up Photoshop. Where you at? I forgot to make a quick graphic for this, but I will go ahead and take care of that now. Let's see. But I'll talk a little bit about some college basketball here in just a second after I get something put together for the screen over there. Logo. Actually, I know what I'll do. We'll just look at the top 25 rankings real quick. I believe these have already come out for today. No, they haven't released the new ones for today yet. But anyway, we'll just look at the rankings real quick here. Let me make this bigger. No, you have the Tennessee Volunteers. I mean, there's 4 teams that really have set up there all year and are going to sit up there. It's Tennessee, Duke, Virginia, Gonzaga, and then you got Michigan, who still only has their 1 loss. But you got Tennessee in first place with 48 votes in the AP poll. Duke's in second with 12. Virginia, they are number 3 right now, and they had 4 first place votes. And then it goes Gonzaga at 4, Michigan at 5, Michigan State at 6. Michigan State just lost on Saturday, so they are going to move down. Kentucky, they're going to move up this week. Nevada, they sit at 8. North Carolina at the 9. Marquette at 10. Very quietly, top 10 Marquette. I will say that. Haven't really heard anything about Marquette, but they sit at 10. Number 10 in the nation. Kansas is at 11. Virginia Tech's 12. Virginia Tech played in one of the worst basketball games I think to ever happen in college basketball the other day. Houston, they sit at number 13 at 20-1 on the season. Villanova, defending national champions, 14th overall at 16-4. Number 15 Louisville at 15-5. 16 is Texas Tech at 16-4. Purdue is 17 at 14-6. 6 losses, and they sit at number 17 in the nation. The Buffalo Bulls, they're 18th at 18-2. Number 19 in the nation, LSU at 16-3. They just lost, so that they'll probably fall out of the rankings. Like I said, they haven't updated the new rankings for Monday yet. For today, we're just going through where teams were at going into this weekend. Iowa State was at 20, Maryland 21, Mississippi State 22, but they lost to Alabama, and then won on Saturday, but they lost to Bama last week, and then won on Saturday. NC State had the worst performance of the shot clock era for a ranked team on Saturday. I'll go look at that and just talk about how terrible that is in just a second. Wisconsin was at 24, and Florida State was back in the rankings at 25. But let's go look at this NC State game. So this is just the worst ever. Let's just look at the team statistics. Field goal percentages. 35.6 is really bad, and you would usually lose a game. But not when the opposing team shot 16.7%. NC State was 9 of 54 for the game, 2 of 28 from 3. They shot 7.1% from 3, and 4 of 6 from the free throw line, 66.7%. And they only had 10 total turnovers. They just could not hit the broadside of a barn or water if they fell out of a boat. 24 points, though. I just wanted to look at that real quick. 24 points is what NC State scored. It's baffling, to say the least. 24 points, all-time record for low points for a ranked team. This is where the bracketology was as of hello Intimidator. This is where bracketology was as of the first. I believe he'll release another one this morning, but we only care about the teams on the bubbles on the outside looking in. Going into this weekend, he had as his last 4 byes. He had Nebraska, UCF, Alabama, and St. John's were the last 4 byes for the bubble teams. The last 4 in were Florida, Indiana, Arizona State, and Seton Hall. And then the 8 teams right on the outside looking. The first 4 teams, the first 4 out were VCU, Temple, Utah State, and San Francisco. And your next 4 were Arizona, Creighton, Butler, and Clemson. Obviously, I think he will be releasing another set of these today. So this will all change very, very, very soon, much like the rankings I went over. But that's where they stand as of last week. As of last Friday, that's where the rankings, that's where the bubble teams, the bracketology stands, and then the rankings were from last Monday, but they have not released the new rankings for us today. Let's see. I don't see anything else on here for that. Okay. It's almost baseball. It's almost baseball season this year, or this year. It's almost time for spring training. Baseball will be here before you know it. Football just ended. We got basketball to go these next couple months. Baseball won't start till the beginning of April, I believe. That's when baseball starts. February 21st will be the first spring training game between the Mariners and the Athletics. But we still got a little ways before real baseball starts and gets going. So I'll go back to the NBA and talk about who's playing tonight. You got the Atlanta Hawks in Washington to take on the Wizards tonight. Washington is a 7-point favorite. That one starts at 6 Central Time. And you got the Denver Nuggets in Detroit taking on the Pistons tonight. The Pistons have a chance to prove they can play with some of the best of the West. If they can get that get that game, get the win in that game. You got the Bucks, the number 1 seed, taking on the current 6th seed in the Brooklyn Nets. You got the Pacers and the Pelicans. Obviously, the Pelicans, they pretty much looks like they might have called it a season since AD wants out. But they're playing the Pacers at home tonight. The Rockets are in Phoenix visiting the Suns. That should be a very easy win for the Rockets. And then you got the Spurs and the Kings. The Kings have a chance to improve their chances at the playoffs if they can take down the Spurs. Now the Spurs are currently the 4, the 5. I don't remember what it said. They're currently the 4 or the 5 seed in the NBA in the Western Conference playoffs discussion. But we do have the final draft rankings. I'll jump back to the NFL real quick. We do have the final draft order now after last night, and it goes as follows. We got the Arizona Cardinals picking first overall, which we already knew that. San Francisco is number 2, pick 2. It's going to be interesting to see what Arizona does because Kingsbury, he's talked very highly of Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray obviously jumped ship on the MLB, and he is going to the NFL. So it'll be interesting to see what Arizona does if they let him have any say-so in picking the player. Sorry, I need to close this. And picking what players he wants because he's talked really highly of Kyler Murray. He's worked well with quarterbacks. He was Mahomes' quarterback. He coached Baker Mayfield at one time. He was the offensive coordinator for Johnny Manziel when he was at A&M for one season. He worked with Case Keenum in Houston. So it'll be interesting to see where Arizona goes there. You've got San Francisco picking second. The New York Jets at 3. The Raiders, we don't even know what they're going to be called next year, but the Raiders picking 4. You got the Tampa Bay Bucks, new coaching staff. Bruce Arians, new head coach, picking at 5. You got the Giants at 6, which I know everybody's pointing to. Most people's number 1 quarterback, Dwayne Haskins, going to New York. Jacksonville Jaguars, the season's biggest disappointment, in my opinion, by far, picking 7. The Lions picking 8. The Bills picking 9. They ended up with 5 wins this year, 6 wins. Really didn't expect them to win more than 3, if that many. Denver ended up in the 10th spot. The Bengals ended up 11. The Green Bay Packers picking way up in the draft. They're not used to picking this high, but they're at 12. Miami Dolphins at 13. The Falcons at 14. The Redskins at 15. The Panthers somehow ended up midway in the pack after they went on a 8-game losing streak. They went from 6-2 to 6-8 or something like that real fast. But they're the 16th pick. The Browns are the 17th pick. Vikings 18. The Tennessee Titans falling at 19 there. Pittsburgh Steelers at 20. The Seahawks will be picking 21st. The Baltimore Ravens picking 22nd. Houston Texans at 23. The Raiders again at 24 because they acquired that pick from the Chicago Bears. So that's originally the Bears pick, but in the trade for Khalil Mack, the Raiders have that first-round pick from Chicago. Eagles at 25. Colts at 26. And the Raiders have 27. That's the Cowboys pick. The Raiders have 3 first-round picks in this draft. So they set themselves up for good draft picks, but traded away their two stars, you could say. They still have Derek Carr, but I really thought they were going to end up trading him. But they still have Carr, but they got rid of Cooper and Khalil Mack. Cooper excelled in an offense where they forced him the ball, and Khalil Mack had more sacks as a player than the Raiders did as an entire team this season. But the Raiders again at 27 with Dallas' pick. Then you have the Chargers at 28. I believe that's Dallas' pick at 27. But you have the Chargers at 28. You have the Chiefs at 29. Green Bay again at 30. Pick they have, that is the Saints pick. It would have to be the Saints pick there at 30. And then the Rams 31. And then your Super Bowl 53 champions, the New England Patriots, will be pick 32 there. But for anybody out there, what were your thoughts on the Super Bowl last night? I know it was very lackluster, to say the least, which we've already talked about that tonight a little bit, or today a little bit. It was a real snooze fest. It was hard to watch. What else do we got on here? Let's go check out. Where are we at? 52 minutes. 52 minutes. So we got just a few minutes left here before I get out. I don't know. I wish there was more to talk about with the Super Bowl, but like I've said, it was a boring game. It's a boring game that New England ended up winning. The halftime show wasn't terrible. The commercials were terrible, in my opinion, this year. I didn't like the commercials. They were very blah. They some of them tried weird things to be funny, and they turned out not so funny. Who won the Super Bowl? You know who won the Super Bowl. New England Patriots won the Super Bowl. 6 rings for Brady. Let's see if I can find Super Bowl commercials 2019. I will say this was my favorite one. This was my favorite one of the night, right here. The Super Bowl Legends commercial.
Welcome to the 100th season of the National Football League. Tonight is not about the league.
What's up, Juju?
It's about football. It's about the players, the fans, the moments, and everything else that makes you say,
Oh, boy.
Fumble! Oh! Let's go!
Joe! No can do, cowboy. Come on, TG. Damn, B.
Y'all know I have more yards than they do.
You still got it.
That hurt. Boy, this is a great party.
Get out there, old man.
Obese. Yes.
He's open.
I got you, Tony.
That's a cake.
Can I have a ball, please?
You want this? Come and get it.
That was by far the best commercial last night. In my opinion, that was the best one. Let's go. Yeah, the AAF. I forgot about the new league starting. So the AAF, as many of you know, the Alliance of American Football. It starts this weekend, so we don't get a weekend away from football. It starts on Saturday. It's going to be carried by the broadcast partners for the league. CBS has the rights to the TV rights to the league, but the CBS Sports Network, CBS, you've got the NFL Network, TNT, and Bleacher Report Live. They will all carry the game in some sort of fashion, but it does start on February 9th, this upcoming Saturday. The first game. Where's the schedule? Oh, here's the entire schedule. So this weekend, on Saturday, you do have the Ninja was in that football commercial. Tim the Tapman was supposed to be in a commercial too, but that was Ninja in that NFL commercial. I believe they shot a couple different ones, but Ninja was in that commercial. But the first game, the very first game for the new season, the AAF season, is Atlanta at Orlando on Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern on CBS. And then these games, it says both these games are covered by CBS. The times must be wrong on that. Yeah, they have a typo on their, I believe, on their schedule here. Because there's no way CBS is going to carry two games at the same time unless they're splitting it on who's going to be carried. But you got Atlanta at Orlando, San Diego at San Antonio on Saturday. It says both games are at 8 p.m. Eastern on CBS. And then on Sunday you have Memphis. I believe it's the Memphis Express at the Birmingham Iron at 4 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Here in the state of Alabama on CBS Sports Network. And then you have Salt Lake at Arizona at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And that game will be carried by the NFL Network. So they've got some big name networks carrying the league this season. CBS, obviously, they were the first to really start pushing this out there, and then the NFL Network got involved. Obviously, TNT is involved now, and Bleacher Report. If you don't have Bleacher Report, it's my favorite sports app. That's what I use. They post all kinds of stuff. They're a little bit more. They're not strictly like formal, I guess you could say. They're a little more relaxed. They have a little fun with it on Bleacher Report, but that's what I use for all my stuff. But yeah, like I said, I said this the other day. There's 8 teams in the league. You got the Arizona Hotshots, the Atlanta Legends, the Birmingham Iron, Memphis Express, the Orlando Apollos, the Salt Lake Stallions, the San Antonio Commanders, and the San Diego Fleet. Are your 8 teams for this inaugural season that begins next week. They do play 10 games. Each team plays 10 games. The 2 teams from each league, division, the 2 best teams from each side make the playoffs, and then the winner of that game plays the winner of the other side to see who wins the AAF championship. I don't know what they're calling it, but we won't be without football. This will go through April. So we won't be without football for several more months. For a couple more months till after April. That might even run into May. So glad we'll still have football. It's not what we're accustomed to with the high-profile college football, and obviously the NFL is the NFL. But it seems to be like a well-organized league, and a lot of former NFL execs and players are the sitting members of the big positions for this league. It's going to work more as a developmental league for the NFL, is what it seems. Because a player can be called up or signed by an NFL team at any point, at any time, and they can go pursue that if they so choose to go to the NFL or any other league, specifically NFL and CFL. And the game is, or the teams are regionally based. It's kind of hard to explain, but say a guy played at UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham, but he didn't play for the NFL or CFL. He would be designated to Birmingham's team. So it's regionally based. Say a player at Ole Miss doesn't make it on an NFL or CFL roster, he would go to the Memphis Express, I would believe. So they try to regionally base the teams to make people more interested in going there. Trying to use the notoriety of, oh, he played for so-and-so here near town. So they're trying to use the notoriety of those players, being a familiar face in the community and playing them there. Like Birmingham, the Birmingham Iron include, I think it's 11 Alabama players and 5 Auburn players. So Chris Davis, everybody knows him for the kick six. He's on the Birmingham team. Trent Richardson, he's on the Birmingham team. Yes, I know he played in the NFL, but I don't know what his situation is there. But it only makes sense that he plays for Birmingham. I think people are going to want to see him play a lot because it's Trent Richardson. I mean, one of the biggest busts in NFL history, but even though he did have a good rookie year. Blake Sims, former quarterback for Alabama in the 2014 season, he's on the Birmingham team. Actually, we can just go look at... I'm using Birmingham because that's my local team. They're only an hour away, so I could very easily go see the Birmingham Iron play this season at some point if I wanted to. But Birmingham, they do open at home on Sunday. Sunday at 3 Central Time, 4 Eastern. But see, just to name the Alabama players on the Birmingham roster, you got Blake Sims, you got Trent Richardson, you got Auburn's Quan Bray, former receiver, J.C. Husnauer. I've heard his name said a bunch of different times. He played at Alabama. You got Avery Young, a former guard for Auburn. You got Dominique Jackson, a former offensive tackle for Alabama. Corin Curvin, former tackle for Alabama. Brandon Green, who played tight end and offensive tackle for Alabama. That's on the offensive side of the ball. Josh Frazier played defensive tackle at Alabama. You got another in-state guy, Jonathan Massaquoi, played at Troy. Xavier Dixon played defensive line in Alabama, linebacker. Ryan White, a DB from Auburn. Chris Davis, everybody knows him for the kick six return, Auburn player. Bradley Sill, former Alabama player. And you got Trayvon Reed, a former Auburn defensive back. Cole Miza played at Alabama, long snapper. But I'm just using Birmingham as a reference because that is the local team here. Coaching staffs. But I'll go look at the league as a whole for real quick. See their leadership roles. Charlie Ebersol, he's the CEO, but Bill Polian worked with the Colts. You got Troy Polamalu. Everybody remembers his crazy plays he made for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hines Ward, Pittsburgh Steeler all-time great wide receiver. just some of the names that come in here. Justin Tuck's Justin Tuck and Jared Allen. They're both on the whatever you want to call it, the staff for the league. So there's a lot of people that have worked in the NFL, played in the NFL, that know what they're doing. So the league is headed the right direction. They've got some big names. I'll check on golf in just a second. Some big names. You got Mike Singletary as the head coach for the Memphis Express. Steve Spurrier's the head coach for the team in Orlando. It's just they've done a good job. I think a lot of people will be interested. We'll just have to see this weekend, but I'm interested. I'm definitely going to be watching the games because it's football. I'd rather watch football than basketball any day. Basketball is a sport that's kind of gone soft, and I'm not particularly keen on it. I'll watch the playoffs this year. Hockey, I'll watch the playoffs. Being in the Southeast, hockey's more popular than you think it is. Specifically, we have a pro team here where I'm from, a semi-pro team, but they're good. It's the most attended professional sport we've ever had. But hockey, I really don't pay attention to till playoff time. But let's go ahead. Let's check out golf. Let's go to the golf channel. Let's go to golf. Golf.com. No, that's not what I want. I want the golf channel. They had the PGA Waste Management Phoenix Open. That one's usually a lot of fun. That one was this weekend, I believe. Yeah, they have their schedule. Like I said, I'm not really huge on golf either. It's just when the tournaments pick up. Give me 1 second. I know the Masters, the ESPN's blasting that out there right now. Tournament schedule. Here we go. No, I don't want that. Yeah, Tiger versus Phil back in November. This weekend you have the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, Honda Classic, Arnold Palmer Invitational, the Players Championship, TPC Sawgrass in March. These are all the PGA. There's the Masters tournament in April. I know ESPN's really already blasting it out there. The Masters. And then you got the PGA Championship in May. The U.S. Open in June. The Open Championship in July. So we still got a little ways for the big golf tournaments to start. Really. But it's not till March. But I guess that's where I'll leave this one. I really just wanted to go over the game, talk about some of the game from last night, the Super Bowl, which we talked about. Went over a couple other things. There's not really a whole lot going on outside of the Super Bowl, besides just a few things. They want to talk about Gurley talking about his low usage in the game last night. The Oakland Raiders trying to play in San Francisco. But a lot of trades should be going down in the NBA coming up this week with the trade deadline, Thursday, I believe. So Friday will probably be packed with some NBA trades, that kind of stuff. Baseball's coming up, so I'll talk some baseball at some point. All-Star Weekend's coming up for basketball soon enough as well. But I guess that's where I'll leave this one. Thanks for coming to check it out this morning. I'll be back again Friday at 10 a.m. as well. And this will be on right after this. I'm gonna go load this on YouTube. Load this on there, and then obviously cut it up into the different segments that I talked about. But that's where I'll leave this one. Thanks for coming out thanks for coming to hang out on this Monday morning. But like I said, you can go check out on YouTube if you didn't get to see the whole stream. You can go over on YouTube and see the whole stream, or I'll break it down. I'll probably just pull out the NFL parts that I talked about, which was like the first 30 minutes or so, and post that as its own video. But thanks for coming to hang out. This has been Spittin Sports with Lamar. I am Casey Lamar. I look forward to seeing you guys on Friday.